All right, so today we're diving into a pretty epic story. King David, right? You've probably heard of him. The whole giant slaying thing.
Well, yeah, giant slayer, heart place.
Exactly. But he was also this really interesting king, like one of those figures who really shaped ancient Israel. And we're going to be looking specifically at First Chronicles chapters 22 through 24.
Okay, so we're talking succession.
Yeah. The transition of power, how he set up his son Solomon. And it's not just some boring history lesson. There's ambition, there's intrigue.
And let's not forget the
Oh,
goal.
yeah, tons of it. I mean, seriously, we're talking about wealth on a scale that's just mind-blowing, even now.
What I find fascinating is you see this very human side of leadership here, even in a theocracy. You got to put yourself in David's shoes. This is a warrior king, right? Used to leading armies, winning battles.
Totally.
And now he's thinking about his legacy. What's it going to leave behind? And he gets this idea, this grand vision of building a magnificent temple for God.
Talk about a dream project.
Right, like the ultimate act of devotion. But then it gets interesting. God basically tells him, no, not you.
Can you imagine? You spent your whole life conquering, uniting the kingdom.
And you want to build this incredible temple.
And God's like, nope. I mean, what was going through David's head?
Well, this is where it gets really telling about their beliefs back then. See, David, as successful as he was, he had shed a lot of blood.
Mm-hmm.
And the temple, it was supposed to be this place of peace, of divine presence. Needed a different kind of leader, you know?
So it's not just about, oh, you were a warrior, you can't build a temple. It's deeper than that.
Exactly. Some scholars argue it's about this cultural shift. They're moving from a warrior society to something more spiritual. And David, he represents that older way.
Wow. So even though he was successful, it's almost like he was outdated for this new era.
In a way, yeah. Makes you think about how leadership was viewed back then. It wasn't just about your skills, it was about fitting the times, the task at hand.
Makes you wonder how David felt about all of this. Like, was he offended? Did he feel like he was being pushed aside?
It's hard to say for sure, but what we do know is that David, he didn't sulk. He didn't, throw a tantrum. He accepted it.
And he doesn't just step aside, right?
Oh, absolutely not. He throws himself into preparing for Solomon's reign. And this is where it gets really interesting. We're talking preparations on a massive scale.
And when we say massive, the text literally says 100,000 talents of gold.
Try wrapping your head around that. That's like 3,750 tons, heavier than a Boeing 747, and that's just the gold.
Yeah, then you got 1,000,000 talents of silver on top of that, mountains of cedar and iron. I mean, come on. It's like he took everything of value in the entire kingdom and said, here you go, son. Don't spend it all in one place.
I know, right? And it really hits you, the sheer scale of what David was doing. But it wasn't just about, setting Solomon up for the luxurious life. Think about it. What kind of message does that send to everyone else?
Like a power move. Look at what my heir has at his disposal.
Exactly, like inheriting Apple and Amazon combined. It's a power move, a statement. Nobody's going to question Solomon's claim with that kind of backing.
So it's almost like he's trying to prevent any power struggles.
Yeah.
No Game of Thrones drama after he's gone.
Right. He's building Solomon's legacy before Solomon even takes the throne. And here's the thing, it doesn't stop there. Chapters 23 and 24, they go into insane detail about the priesthood under Solomon.
Oh, yeah, the Levites. I was blown away by that. Musicians, gatekeepers, bakers. It's like he outlined every single role in the temple.
It's micromanagement on another level, but there's a reason for it. Remember, this wasn't just any building. This was the house of God, the center of their world.
Right, it's not like he was organizing a birthday party. This was a big deal.
Huge. And for them, all those little details, all that planning, it wasn't just about being organized. It was about reflecting their beliefs, showing their devotion in every single action.
So it's almost like every little thing had this spiritual weight to it.
Exactly. It's hard to grasp that kind of devotion now, but it was everything to them. Like every detail, every ritual, it was a way to connect with the divine.
It's a level of, intensity that's kind of hard to imagine today.
Yeah.
But it does make you think about how powerful those things still are, rituals, traditions, even now. They give you that sense of continuity, of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, totally. But with David, it wasn't just about the physical stuff, the gold, the organization. Remember that advice he gives Solomon? It's not about logistics. It's way deeper.
You're right. He tells him, set your heart and your soul to seek the Lord your God. That's a pretty heavy thing to tell your kid.
It's like, hey, here's all this wealth, this power, but don't forget, this is about faith. It's a reminder that leadership, especially back then, it wasn't just about what you did, it was about what you believed.
Makes you wonder how common this whole handover thing was, Like other kingdoms at the time, did they do this kind of thing?
It's a good question because you can imagine the power struggles, right? One king dies, everybody's scrambling for the throne. Next thing you know, it's a whole Game of Thrones situation.
Total chaos. So, did all of this, the preparations, the emphasis on the spiritual side, did that help David avoid that?
It's possible. Think about it. He names Solomon as his heir, gives him unimaginable wealth, sets up these religious institutions that support his rule. He's basically taking away any reason for anyone to challenge Solomon.
He's like, this is the guy, it's decided, and oh, by the way, God agrees with me.
Exactly. It's strategic on so many levels.
It's like he was creating this whole system to keep things stable, even after he was gone, right?
And it shows real foresight because a lot of leaders, they're so focused on their own reign, they don't think about what happens next.
So it's not just about Solomon, it's about the future of the entire kingdom.
It's about legacy.
Yeah.
Building something that will last.
Which is interesting because you've got this warrior king, right? The guy who built an empire through conquest.
Right. Blood and battles and all that.
And then you have this other side of him, this leader, who's obsessed with peace and continuity. It's almost like he was two different people.
It's like he understood that what got him to the top wasn't necessarily what would keep his kingdom strong. That kind of self-awareness, it's rare, even today.
And that's where Solomon comes in. The man of peace, they called him. It wasn't just about building a temple. It was about building a new era.
And suddenly, all those little details about the Levites, the priesthood, it all makes sense.
So it wasn't just David being a control freak.
Well, maybe a little, but it was more about ensuring that transition of power, making sure their beliefs were woven into everything.
He was building the foundation, so to speak.
Exactly. The infrastructure for a different kind of leadership, less about war, more about faith, about keeping things in balance.
Creating a system where peace and prosperity could actually survive, even without him. It's like he was playing 4D chess while everyone else was still figuring out checkers,
It makes you think about how we view leadership today. It's all about short-term games, quick results.
Yeah, what's the next headline, the next election cycle?
But David, he was thinking generations ahead.
Trying to build something that would last. Something bigger than himself.
Yeah.
It's kind of humbling when you think about it.
It is. It reminds us that even the most powerful figures, they're just temporary, just caretakers for something much larger.
Makes you wonder who the Davids are today. The ones quietly building the future, even if they won't be around to see it.
And what about us? We may not be kings and queens,
Definitely not.
but we're all part of something bigger. We all leave a legacy, whether we realize it or not.
It's like that ripple effect, right?
Exactly. Think about the people who've shaped your life, the teachers who inspired you, the friends who challenged you, the artists who made you see the world differently.
They've all left their mark, even in small ways.
And that's what David's story reminds us of. It's not about the titles or the power. It's about using whatever influence you have to make a positive impact.
To leave things better than you found them. Well, on that note, I think we've just about reached the end of our deep dive into the world of King David and his incredible legacy.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It really has. So, as we wrap things up, we will leave you with this thought. What kind of ancestor do you want to be? What kind of world are you hoping to create for the future? Think about it. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and until next time, keep diving deep.
Welcome to Charlie and Mia's podcast. We're embarking on an exciting journey to read through the entire Bible in just 1 year. Every day, we dive into Scripture, exploring its meanings and how it applies to our lives today. We invite you to join us on this incredible adventure of learning and discovery. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode.